Happy Friday, all. It has been a big rain event here in San Francisco yesterday and today. It's actually Thursday while I create this. Going to post it tomorrow, Friday, when you will see it. And so I've been doing a lot of reading, a lot of phone calls and stuff, a little bit of writing, and working on things for Jackdaw. But something I wanted to share with y'all that I haven't made a point of sharing, unless you saw my video from Burning Man, is there's another thing I do with my time that is an act of service that's really close to my heart. And it's this. I am a listener. And what that is I'm somebody who will sit down a public place with that sign, with a couple cushions, or on a bench or what have you, and I will be available to strangers to talk to. That's right. Now, if you've never heard of this sort of thing, it probably sounds really weird to you, but stick with me a minute. The idea behind being a listener, and there are other people who do this, is that it's a cathartic thing and a really, really useful thing to talk to a stranger about something that is on your heart heavy, that perhaps you haven't been able to say out loud to anybody that matters in your life, maybe not even say it out loud for yourself. And the idea is, and it's true, because I've done this for years and I've seen it happen, and I had the experience myself early on in my personal work, post separation from my wife. When you can sit down and talk to someone who has no skin in the game, doesn't know a soul that's in your orbit, your relationships, your friends, nothing, and you can say out loud to them what you're thinking, knowing there are no consequences of speaking the words of how you feel. And we all know how careful we can be when it comes to saying what we really feel, like really gut level feel about something going on in our life, relationships in our life, whatever it may be. You got to be careful who you talk to when you're talking to your friends or your family. Maybe not everybody has to, but a lot of times you do. You have to be careful how you phrase things, what you say. And so when you're being cautious because you love people or you're fearful or who knows why, anytime you craft your words, you're just a little bit separated from the absolute truth of them, because you're considering how other people will react. When you're talking to a listener on the street, someone who you've never seen before, who's not going to advise you, not make a judgment, literally you're a listener, you get to hear yourself say exactly how you feel without consequence. And it's not always a big deal, but a lot of times it is a big deal, and I've seen it be a big deal for people. And it's a really unique experience on both sides. It's pretty amazing. And this is something also inspired by a group I got involved with at Burning Man at the temple the first year I was out there in 2014. They were doing this and I was intrigued, sat down, did it myself. And of course, at that point, I'd been in ACA for over a year and I could say anything because I was used to these 12-step type groups where we were sharing our journey. And so, but to say it to someone who didn't know me, who wasn't going to advise me or give me an opinion or anything, they're just going to be a human being focused on hearing you, paying attention, not speaking, not formulating a response, just listening. That is not something everyone can do. And it's a rare quality for someone to possess. I mean, how often have you been talking to someone where you know they're truly listening? They're just processing what you say. They are listening and seeking to understand what you're saying. They're not trying to figure out how they're going to react, what they need to say. They're just listening. And ever since I started doing this, it's been interesting to see the effect in my interactions with people I do love, people who are my friends. A lot of times they'll be talking, we're having a conversation, and I listen to them the same way. It's changed how I listen. I listen to understand. I no longer listen to respond. And oftentimes they'll finish making their point, whatever they're saying, and I'm quiet for a few seconds. And when people aren't used to that, their immediate response is like, well, what do you think? And those people who know me now have gotten used to it, that they know I'm processing it. I've really listened. And, obviously when I'm doing the street listening, it's not with the intent of giving them a particular response. But in relationship, of course I'm going to respond to what they say. But I really have learned how to listen, to understand what the person is saying, to feel them, to hear them. And it's been beautiful. It's a wonderful thing. But I absolutely love doing the listening on the street. And the experiences, the things people have shared with me have been amazing. And it almost always starts the same way, because people usually who do it have never done it before. They walk up there like, what do you mean you'll listen? What? Listen to what? And I explained it. Well, I'm someone who doesn't know you, doesn't know any of the people in your life. You can sit down and say to me anything you want without consequence, because I don't know any of them. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to advise you on anything. I'm just going to be a human being, fully present, right here, right now, and I will simply listen to you. As long as you need to talk about whatever you need to talk about. And oftentimes they're like, nah, not for me. But the ones who get it, all of a sudden it's like, dawns on them. It's like, wow, okay. All right. And they sit down and they just start talking. And almost always they're pouring out something pretty intense that you immediately can understand why they haven't been able to speak it out loud even for themselves just yet. One of the things we work on in ACA work, which that's a 12-step group called Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families. One of the things we try and work on in there is what's called mirror work. When you have extremely damaged or low self-esteem, learning to look at yourself in the mirror, look in your own eyes, and say things, positive about yourself is incredibly challenging and difficult. You might be surprised how difficult it is for you, even if you don't have the shit problems that a lot of us who grew up with troubled childhoods have. Anyway, that's part of the same kind of family of experiences. So to be able to offer this and let people get off their chest things they're thinking and want to say out loud, but haven't even been able to say it out loud to themselves, it's a big deal. And it's a very special gift to give to people. And when I first started doing it outside of Burning Man in my little town of Ellensburg, Washington, where I was living, very small cowboy town. Let me tell you, you sit down on the sidewalk with this sign at the farmer's market on Saturday morning, quietly waiting with an empty, a pillow, another spot in front of you for people to sit down and talk to you, you get a bit of ridicule. And I don't care. I can take that. It's good for me. But it's been amazing, the people who sit down and talk. I know that it's been a turning point in a number of those conversations. And it has really increased my empathy and my, it's hard to even express, but like my connection to humanity. To hear these stories, to hear these things that people share, surprising things that they will share, where they'll look around and make sure I'm the only one that can hear, drawing me into their confidence, and they don't even know me, it's such an act of faith and vulnerability, and I honor it every time. I'm always moved, like I'm getting choked up right now thinking about it. So it's a rainy day. I didn't have another thing to share with you this week for the vlog. So I thought, I will talk about the listening gift that I do. And it's something that's been on my video list for a while. So there you go. Another facet of what Jackdaw is about, because I consider that all part of Jackdaw and the gifting that I do. And so yeah, that's that. And I made this sign for my second burn when I knew I'd be doing that at the temple. And it's still got playa dust on it. I mean, it's worn and weathered, and I love it. And so there you go. I'm a listener, and that's something new you just learned about me and how I try to bless others.